Hi, we're here with Bradley Whitford, and Bradley, your role in Transparent as Mark or Marcy, how did that come along?
Uh, it came about because it was a strange, fortunate chain of circumstances that got me into this wonderful show and this amazing experience. Basically, it came down to this. I've always thought that Jeffrey Tambor was a brilliant actor. I'd met him a couple times. I'd never worked with him. He has this peculiar capacity in everything he's ever done. It's a weird combination. He's hilarious and he's heartbreaking simultaneously. So he's this actor I just loved. I had never been on any Law and Order show, and it was like, okay, then you know what? I'm going to be the one human being, the one actor, the one member of SAG who was never on Law and Order. And then I got a call to do a Law and Order, and it was a hard thing to do because it meant going out of town. And I said, who is it with? And they said, it's with Jeffrey. And I said, oh, yeah, okay, I'll definitely do it. During the week that we were shooting that episode, which I was doing basically just because I want to work with Jeffrey, he came in and said this show that I did for Amazon, he said, I guess it's going. And that was the first I had heard of the show, Transparent. And when I got back to Los Angeles, he talked to Jill about me as a possibility for Mark and Marcy. And I went and saw, and if any of your viewers haven't seen it, Jill did a really incredible movie called Afternoon Delight, with one of my favorite actresses on the planet, Kathryn Hahn. I watched that movie. I thought it was amazing. I watched the pilot. I thought it was amazing. It was the prospect of putting on a dress was terrifying, and a very exciting challenge. I was scared about this because often people in this community are portrayed as either saints or buffoons. And I could tell that Jill's writing was much more complicated than that. But that was the fear. I didn't want this person to be laughed at. I wanted people to see there's a lot of kind of homophobia in Mark and in Marcy, which was interesting and complicated. So, but that's basically, I got back to LA after working with Jeffrey, and I went and had coffee with Jill, who is a very dynamic, brilliant, talented woman, and it was a no-brainer.
It's like a really interesting character because it's a guest character in the show. You're in only 4 episodes. You're in like 1994 or the 90s. You're sort of in a whole separate little world of the show in flashbacks. What's it like sort of being this sort of guest character, but a character that is so important to the world, especially of Jeffrey's, but the world of Transparent, like where the impact your character has on everything that happens after is so great.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's a very exciting, moving, terrifying moment for both of them. I think my line is, "Nobody's ever seen me but me," and it's you can imagine if you're in either one of their circumstances, how intense that moment must have been, how scary, how vulnerable, how brave, how silly. And it's interesting, that was 94. And I don't know where the writing is going to go. But it's interesting to me that when he tells the kids in the present day, in the first episode, that or earlier in that episode, they say, "How's Marcy?" And he says something to the effect of, "That's over." And it's interesting for me to think, and I have no idea what Jill has planned. And when you have a writer who's writing like this, you let them do whatever they want to do. You want to let that puppy run free. But it's interesting to me, the question of whether or not that relationship sustained for the intervening years from the 90s on. And again, it's really interesting, these levels of homophobia. There's, in the cross-dressing world, there is, back in the days when homosexuality was a perversion and a mental illness, for the cross-dressers, it was very important for them to emphasize that they were not gay. And there's a legacy of that. I think less so now in the cross-dressing world. And there's a condescension. It was just fascinating, these different levels. There's a condescension from the transgender world to a guy like Mark, who thinks, hey, I'm straight, I do this. This isn't a gender thing. This isn't a sexuality thing. This is what I do. And with all the options opening up now in the transgender world, transgender people tend to look at somebody who is simply cross-dressing as, hey, maybe something's going on here. Maybe this is, maybe you're not acknowledging something more complicated. It was just fascinating to me, within this oppressed world, the oppression that would go on within it.
And it's like, sort of, we've come a long way since 1994 and when your character was portrayed. But do you think like Transparent still as a show is letting people, like, giving people a window into a world that maybe a lot of the audience don't understand?
Yeah, and by the way, I think, and some people really disagree with me, but I think you do have to have some, not necessarily compassion, but sensitivity to the inability of good people to, for some people, this world is going to be beyond their cosmic eggshell. It's going to be too much. The power of this, I mean, the irony of this show to me is, I know it's seen as groundbreaking and edgy, but it's extolling these values that are profoundly traditional and downright patriotic. Individuality, family, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. I mean, these are very traditional values that within this world, even though it may be shocking to some people, that's what it's all about. And that's what actors can do around. And this is, rather than, people get exhausted with actors advocating and Hollywood people imposing their political views. The most powerful thing we can do as actors is put flesh and heart and humanity into what, for a lot of people, understandably, is it's an abstract, scary alien world. And that's why Jeffrey lugging his big sack of humanity into every scene he does, that's why this show is so powerful. He's not a victim. He's not laughing at this. It's his truth. I don't know if you saw the Bruce Jenner interview. Did you see that?
Some of it, but clips.
I thought it was incredibly powerful because it was so clearly his truth. And I think that's a very powerful thing that storytelling and acting can do, can show that we have more in common than what we don't have in common.
And like, I guess let's go to your scene, the "No one's ever seen me but me" scene, because that's a particularly sort of like, I think like it's such a great scene for you, sort of like in films of like, that's the first time we see you in a dress. It's the first time we ever see you as well. Not just Jeffrey or another person in the world of the show. What was that scene like to approach? And what did you bring to that scene? What were you conscious of in that particular scene?
Well, first of all, the set with Jill was incredibly collaborative. At that point, I feel very safe with Jeffrey. In a weird way, it was very, I didn't have to act. It was terrifying for me to come out in a dress. It's one of those moments when you're acting where the circumstances of shooting it are just taking you right to the feelings of where your character is. So it was really emotionally scary, but I felt like Jill created the circumstances where I didn't feel like there was a big distance between what I was feeling and what the characters were feeling. It's scary.
Are there any?
It was, it's really funny, actors with relish, will train to, play a fighter or do something, and those things you throw yourself into. This was really scary.
Yeah. As an actor, do you like those, like to take on a role that's scary?
I was at a moment where I really wanted to be scared. The problem in Hollywood is often you're cast as something that you can do, and there's a particular joy to that, but it is challenging and exciting, and I think there was kind of like a midlife acting crisis of like, yeah, I want to do something scary. let's shave our legs.
Is there another particular moment in the show that from your character that resonates with you, a favorite scene or moment?
Yeah, I realized really clearly, it was a very interesting acting moment when we're at the camp and the scene with Michaela, and I'm realizing, I realized that Mark was really, it was just surprising because it wasn't necessarily in the writing, because we were playing around. Jill was playing around with the writing a lot, but I realized, oh my God, this guy's in trouble because he thinks he's straight. But it was just a very interesting moment. He thinks he's straight, but I could just feel like Marcy was falling in love with Maura, and it was just very interesting because the guy is so set up as having, this area of his life boxed off. It was just interesting because I realized, oh boy, this guy could be in trouble down the line. So it's interesting to think where he might go. He, she.
Happyish. Sorry. Yes, yeah. I was just gonna say, Transparent had a great run at the Golden Globes this year. What was that like to see the show's success there?
It was unbelievable. It happened. We're in a very interesting moment in television where Jill is given the opportunity and the resources, and it is not forced to go through 2 years of development. This is something drives me crazy about Hollywood is I don't understand. I think development, unfortunately, often turns into homogenizing and kind of erasing rough edges and color and individuality. And it should scare Hollywood that shows that you love, like The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, if anybody had any idea those shows were going to be successful, you never would have met James Gandolfini, because he wasn't a big enough star. Bryan Cranston would not have been allowed to do it. David Chase would not have been allowed to write it. Vince Gilligan would not have been allowed to write it. So what you have here is one of these moments where there's daylight, because a new market opens up, and they give a talented visionary like Jill everything she needs. At the Globes, it was just shocking because I felt like we just shot it. It just happened so quickly that usually there's a much bigger lag between, hey, we're going to shoot this summer, and the award goes to.
Speaking about the television landscape, you're also in Happyish on Showtime. You played Jonathan Cook. I've got a friend with the same name, so that was like interesting.
Oh, really?
When you go in, yeah, we do a podcast together, and
extremely dark and cynical.
Yeah, pretty much. So, what is it like taking on that character, tackling sort of the world of advertising and being on not an Amazon show, but a Showtime show?
It is, it was an amazing group of people. Kathryn Hahn, who I mentioned before, who's also in Transparent.
You don't get to act with her in any of these shows, though.
No, it's like creative cock teasing.
Yeah. So it's you two haven't had a falling out or anything. There's no like a big few. No, I won't work. As long as
We did a Broadway play together in 2008, so I know her very well, and she's just phenomenal. Coogan is a blast. What a wonderful guy, and what fun he is on a set. It's like suddenly you got cast in the Trip, one of his movies. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and a totally different guy. Again, it's kind of dark, macho, more emotionally cut off, and certainly it is. We are inundated and polluted by the stupidity of the marketing machine. So yeah, it's a ripe target.
And I think like your probably biggest scene to date in that show was the Coca-Cola meeting, where you gave the sort of Nazi speech, and you sort of like talked about branding. What was that scene like to do?
I'll tell you, it was scary. It was scary because there's a bunch of German in there. I don't speak German, but I felt like it was really, we all felt like it was really important that, and funnier, if he really had fantastic German pronunciation. So we had somebody there at the set, and it was a little hairy doing it. It is, an uncomfortable, it's an uncomfortable truth that, listen, I turned on CNN the other day, and they have a former CIA commentator, and he's literally saying, he's talking about the difference between the brands. He's talking about, the difference between the ISIS brand and the Al-Qaeda brand. And we're hearing a lot of things about the marketing brilliance of ISIS. It's a very strange world, but certainly, it was something the Nazis understood.
Yeah. What's more scary? Quick question. Speaking German or wearing a dress?
Wearing a dress is a little scary.
Okay. That was the most scary scene. We're an awards website. We love the Emmy Awards. I would say it's of our editorial staff, it's our favorite awards. And you didn't just win supporting actor in a drama series for The West Wing. You were part of like a rotation of like everyone in your cast winning an Emmy on that show, yes. Pretty much, other than Martin. And I just wondering, what was it like, not just to win that Emmy and that experience, but to be a part of this? Like, Richard won the year before, John won the year after, Allison was winning him left, right, and center. What was it like to be part of that movement at the Emmys? That, like, we haven't seen a drama series dominate at the Emmys in that way since Hill Street Blues.
We always Martin was always very funny about it. He called the Emmys his Passover. And our joke about Allison was that, like, Allison can, like, walk into Starbucks and they hand her an Emmy with her latte. What was happening with Richard and me and John, and it goes to a certain craziness about award shows. Listen, Aaron wrote the kind of episodes that win people Emmys. And he did it not in a cynical way, but in a generous, loving way. They were all these amazing episodes, but it was very clear to me when I read that script that, that was what was happening. That I think I was joking that, should I wear a little, like, banner around my neck that says, like, please nominate me? because it was the kind of episode that had the emotional range and the power and Aaron's incredible writing. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the tape, when they announced my name, I turned around, said to John, "You're next," which he was. So it was an incredibly generous, almost unfair thing that allowed us all, for Aaron to do that for all of us.
And you three guys all won on Christmas episodes. Like Richard had the Christmas episode with The Homeless Man. You had Noel, Bartlett for America. A bit less was John's episode, which a bit less Christmas centric, but it was still the Christmas episode.
Christmas. Well, and Christmas was where, like, all the resources would go. You knew the Christmas episode was going to be big. You knew Tommy Schlamme was going to direct it, and you'd go as long as you needed to go.
What was that your sort of favorite Josh episode? You have the great the guy falls down a hole moment with John at the end of it. Is that, like, does that really stay with you, or is there something else in the West Wing?
It was a very moving thing to do. One of the greatest memories, whenever people say what's one of your favorite shooting memories, Yo-Yo Ma's in that episode, and Yo-Yo Ma came out to a university out here, and Dulé had just joined the cast. And Dulé Hill, who played Charlie, is one of the greatest tap dancers in the world. And Yo-Yo Ma realized how great he was, and Yo-Yo was improvising on the cello. Dulé was tap dancing. It was amazing. That was a very it's impossible to express the relentless joy as an actor. Just these sweet mornings driving into Warner Brothers, realizing that Aaron had written these amazing scenes. I loved that episode. I also loved. I loved, and I don't think it was a conscious thing, but some of my favorite episodes are when Aaron would have an extremely dark or dire situation going on, and then absolute farcical craziness on the other side. One of my favorite episodes is the death penalty one, where we're seriously talking about the death penalty, and I've woken up in my office drunk, hungover, in fishing waders. That was a fun one.
With a female deaf Joey Lucas.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny you say that, because people always say, "What is your favorite line in the whole thing?" And one of the funniest lines to me is, she's kind of screaming, and there's signing going on, and I am coming up out of my hungover stupor, and my line is, "What in God's name is happening right now?" That's one of my favorite lines.
Yeah, I think another episode where you got that like sort of thing is when you and Toby or you and Richard are lost in America, and then it comes back at the end to the school shooting, or to the bombing, the fire in the school, and like
that was a really fun episode. Alpha girls. I was afraid of the alpha girls.
yeah, the time zones and all that sort of stuff.
Wow, you really watched that thing, huh?
Yeah, no, I my favorite show. All through high school, like would watch it took me all the way through. So it's got me going through high school, and I guess also with the show with talking about those, like, I guess Josh was a character that embodied that quite a bit. Like you were the sort of the most confident of all of them. Like you sort of came in and you sort of like, you walked around the West Wing like you owned the place, but then you had those real sort of moments where your glibness went back a bit. Like
yeah, and Aaron would have fun with that. Another one of my favorite moments in the show, I forget what episode it was, but I'm just walking really confidently in the door, and I just fall. And Aaron could have fun. Having some playing with undercutting someone's confidence like that.
Yeah,
a confidence.
And Josh had that done to him quite a bit. Like sort of his confidence not living up to what happened.
Yes, his exceeded his ability at certain times.
Yeah. We've got. I've got just a couple more questions. I said I'd ask you. The first one is, what is the secret to a great cheese platter?
Is this a West Wing reference?
No, this is from Kathryn Hahn that we spoke to a couple days ago. She said you made a great cheese platter the other week.
That's really funny. Yes.
Yeah.
I was like I was entertaining Kathryn. The key is you want to put some sweet in there with the savory, little like fig jam.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
little fig jam for the ladies.
Oh, that's a good tip for me then. And what's the secret to keeping the apples crisp? She was wondering what that was.
Yes, you put interesting question. You put when you cut them, put lime, squeeze some lime juice on it. They won't turn brown.
She thought it was lemon. She thought that was her prediction. Yeah, there you go. And she was wondering if you had any stories from Boeing, the play you did with her. I actually saw that play when I was in New York in 2008.
You did?
Year it was.
Did you see?
Well, sorry?
Did you see us, or had we gone?
Yeah. No, I saw you guys. I actually met you outside the door. This was before I was doing interviews or anything like that. And you were very gracious. My camera wouldn't work, and you were very patient in waiting for the camera to get the photo.
Oh, good.
Good.
You want a good Boeing story?
Yeah, a good Boeing story.
Mark Rylance, who is absolutely one of the greatest actors of our generation. He ran the Globe for many years. He is hilarious, brilliant, a very strange combination of this like technical proficiency, and yet when you're acting with him, he is so present. It's like you're acting with a cat. And this play was set in 1963, so stuff would happen like a cell phone would go off, and you'd be set in this play in 1963, and Mark would hear the noise and then say to me, "What was that sound?" And you're in a play in 1963, and he wasn't trying to trick me or anything, but you'd have to say, "Well, it's a sound from the future," and then you go on. So Mark. One day we're performing. Mark is downstage. I am upstage, so he's kind of backlit. And I see this really large, we've been doing the play for a while, really large, like not a housefly, like a horsefly or deer fly, land on his hair. He doesn't know it's on his head. We're doing the scene. He sees my eyes kind of giggle, and I kind of indicate in a way no one would know that there's something in his hair. And he does, and he realizes it's a fly, goes away. We walk off stage. It's not, we don't even mention it to each other. It's just a tiny little moment. I go up to my dressing room to doubt myself. Mark is on stage, and I'm hearing over the monitor, you would hear Mark get very interesting laughs, but I was hearing him get these extraordinary giggles, oohs, ahs, and then this explosion of applause. And I remember thinking, God, I wonder what he's doing out there. And in the scene, he's on stage alone. He pours a fake drink. It's supposed to be scotch, but it's like sweet tea. And I know none of this. The fly comes back, and he starts walking around the stage, trying to attract the fly. He gets the fly to land on the cup, so that's what the audience is reacting to. He tilts the cup. The fly walks down, drinks however a fly does, and then Mark, with a little flourish, sets the fly free, and the audience applauds. I know none of them. I'm off stage, and it's one of these farce entrances where Kramer entrance, like door opens. It's a white set. I think I'm wearing a white shirt. Anyway, I go in. This huge fly lands on my chest. I kill it. And the audience goes, the audience is just horrified. And I immediately realized, I realized what Mark had been doing, and I realized that I just cried. I didn't realize that Mark was dating the fly. So the audience is in love with it. I've just killed it. And Mark is on the verge of tears, and we literally for like 2 minutes had to have a discussion about why I killed the fly.
That's great. Oh man, and Mark won. I could be wrong about this. Mark won a Tony, right, for Boeing.
Yeah. He's won a Tony He's won several Tonys.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant
Very
actor.
good. Yeah, and the one other question Kathryn said I had to ask you was to do your gorilla impression.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
How can I? Hold it.
Okay.
I'll show you.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Let me just get this set up. Set it. Yeah, there's the floor. Can you see? You see the shoe?
I can't quite see the shoe.
See it?
You need to move it back a bit further. The camera a bit lower.
You just need a little bit of the shoe.
Okay.
Okay. You ready?
I think the chair is now blocking the shoe, or the red thing.
The red thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we've got a little bit of the shoe.
That's okay. That's it.
It was very good. I feel like you did that at the end of Boeing.
Yes. Well, yes, I did.
Yeah, there you go. That's great. I thought when Kathryn said you had a gorilla impression, I thought it'd just be like making a noise. That was great. Yeah,
It's very complicated. How is Kathryn?
Yeah. She's good. She's singing great.
Good.
She had a great time. I think she had a good time chatting with us. If not, she pretended to.
Yeah, she's lovely. I love her.
Oh, well, thanks so much for your time today, Bradley.
My pleasure.
Look, you're all over the Emmy ballots this year. Supporting actor for Happyish, guest actor for Transparent. So you're all over it, and all the best for those categories and for those shows as well that they can do well. Yeah, and all the best with those shows moving forward.
Thank you so much. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, no, it's good chatting.
Okay.